is the last session. I'm just going to share my screen so I can share a few opening things before we get started here. So I wanted to announce that we did put everybody into a fun little daily giveaway. And so we wanted to give away a custom limited edition bucket list pickleball set. And so Ben, you are our winner for day one. I will email you after, but feel free to drop me a note in the chat and let me know if you play pickleball or are meaning to start because I hope it's fun. All right, and a quick shout out as well to our event partners. I want to say thank you for helping us and collaborating with us. Without your support, we just could not put this event together. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And above all, I appreciate how passionate you all are about elevating people and building great culture. All right, quick housekeeping items for the chat box. It is open. Make sure your blue drop down is everyone so that you can speak to everyone. The Zoom lobby link, it'll be more relevant for tomorrow since today's session, this is the last session. So it should be the same link for you for today and tomorrow. I heard that Zoom sometimes does not work. The calendar integration did not work properly for the multi-day placeholder, but the event is also taking place again tomorrow starting from 8 a.m. PT. So keep your lobby link in on hand for that. Q&A box is open for submissions. I know Yenny and Mark would love to answer any of the questions that you have, so feel free to pop it in there. We are going to run some poll questions. We have some professional development credits at the end of the sessions. Last but not least, we are recording everything, and so we'll be sending out the links later next week after we've consolidated it all. All right, this is our last session. So I'll do a little bit of one last piece of context setting for the session today as we go into it. We last talked about how recognition can fuel performance and growth. And now to end the day, we want to shift into something a little bit strategic about how to coach leaders to better recognize their teams. And so in the icebreaker we just did, we saw just how impactful recognition is for all of us. But studies show that 31% of employees quit within the first 6 months, and 79% of them quit because they don't feel that there's enough appreciation. So there's definitely room for improvement. And so with this session, we're hoping that we can have some tidbits on how to coach managers to recognize with purpose. And so this next session is led by Yenny and Mark, two of Bravely's expert coaches. You both will guide us through an awesome session on building coaching skills that help leaders develop stronger recognition habits. And if you haven't heard of Bravely before, Bravely is a coaching and leadership platform that delivers personalized growth and development. So we're definitely in excellent hands here. All right, Yenny, Mark, I will transfer it to the both of you to run the show and to introduce yourselves, who you are, what you do, the perspective you hope to bring to the conversation today. Pass it over
That's
to you.
that's great. Thank you, Rebecca, and excited to be here. I wish I could see all the faces that are in our audience today, but this is virtual, so I am going to imagine 200 faces in front of me. Thank you for being here. I know that it's been a day packed with information. This is the last session, so I'm pretty sure that you're ready to go and take care of the rest of the things that you have in your to-do list in your life. So we are going to, and Mark and I are very committed to make this a valuable conversation, something that you can take away some things so you can finish your participation of the first day of the conference in a very positive and motivated note, and come back tomorrow, of course. So my name is Jenny Rautenberg Loya, as you can see there in my little tag. Something fun about my name is that even though it's spelled with a Y, it sounds like a J because I'm from Mexico, and in Spanish, the Y sounds like a J. So I'm Jenny, and I'm a leadership coach and trainer. I have been with Bravely for the last 5 years. I joined right in the middle of the pandemic, and it was a great opportunity to support people to navigate everything that we were going through at that time. I was in corporate for about 25 years, and I had some experiences with really great managers, I was a manager myself, and I had all the experiences that were not that great. And I'm going to share a little bit about that in a moment. But this is a great experience, a great opportunity to talk about recognition, talk about appreciation. And one of the things that moves me and my purpose as a coach is to help leaders reconnect with their authentic voice so they can have a clear and confident, connection with their team members and everyone in their sphere or their network. And today I'm very excited because I'm going to be sharing the stage with Mark. And Mark, why don't you introduce yourself and then we dive right into the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm thrilled to be the blocker between whatever your life has in store for you at the end of the day. I'm thrilled that we got this. What a great spot. How do we nail that one? So Mark Turner, my name is Mark. I have nothing interesting to say about my first name like Yenny did. I guess Mark like a mark on a wall, right? Or something like that.
You leave a
Um,
mark in the world.
yeah, that's much more inspirational than what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Um, So, Mark, I'm in the Chicagoland area. I see Cary, Illinois. I'm in Naperville, so I'm just a little south, but I spent a lot of time in the Crystal Lake, McHenry County. So for our one Cary, Illinois attendee, I got nothing but love for you. I've been with Bravely uh, right before the pandemic started, actually.
Mm.
So I got a little bit of a glimpse into the world before the chaos happened. So I've been with Bravely for quite a while now as one of their professional business coaches, and much of my expertise is in the sales world. Um, m- so currently partnering with Bravely, my full-time role, I work at LinkedIn and I do leadership development. I help enable our future leaders in our sales organization that are moving into or navigating into potential leadership roles as high performers. And I also do the onboarding globally for all of our new sales leaders in the company. Prior to that life, which is now about 10 years old, I was a sales leader for about a decade, a sales director. So I have a lot of leadership experience. And I found myself accidentally into this amazing coaching world and this world of enablement and investing in helping people become the best versions of themselves. And I could not be happier for it. So that's a little bit about my background, and I'm super pumped to have this conversation with Yenny.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And of course, you have a lot of experience, probably a lot of anecdotes that you can share with us of your work, both as a leader developer, but as well as a coach and in different functions that you have had. So, sales is something that is very interesting because a lot of times it's very driven by recognition, right? So, let's see what you can share about that with us. And let's start talking about, because as I was preparing for this, I was thinking of what is the difference between recognition and appreciation? Because I think that sometimes those terms are used interchangeably, and they are actually two very different things. And both of them, I think it's important for leaders to keep in mind as they are managing their teams. Um, what do you think about that? What can you say about it?
I think when you think about so you want to focus a little bit more on the appreciation side of things and just sort of evaluating the nuance, right?
Yeah,
I,
yeah, if we can talk about what are the nuances of those two?
yeah, it's a great question, and I know you and I have jammed out about it. And the more I think about it, the more complex it gets, right? So I think about it from a couple different perspectives, and I want to put us in like the world we live in today. Like, I
Mm,
feel like appreciation is at like an all-time low. Like, and I don't mean to be like, I don't want to paint this horrible world, but I'm going to do it for a second. Like, if you think about the AI transformation that we're all going through and we're hearing, right? Like, I think humans in general are struggling more than ever to figure out, like, where do I fit? Where do I belong? What
mm,
is my value? Everyone's hearing, like, ugh, this constant narrative of like, we're going to be replaced or we're not needed or the job we've been working towards doesn't exist. Like, knowledge is becoming a commodity in many ways. Like, people are very nervous about their careers, right? So I
yeah,
put us in this
yeah.
wonderfully dystopian point of view. You're welcome. End of the day, we're going to start low. But I do want to take a spin on the other side.
Yes, please.
Like, people fundamentally want to interact and work with people. Like if you
Mhm.
look at AI fatigue stuff and you're starting to see a lot of news on like, yeah, this is great, it's supercharged, and then I engage with it and I actually feel like I lost energy from the hour. Yes, I might have been more productive, and I might have gotten more done, but like personally, I feel, I don't know, less motivated, or like instead of giving me energy, it's actually taking it away. Like
Mm.
people are connected by human connection, like
Yeah.
just are. AI is not going to change that.
Mm.
And when you think about how that comes to life in a work world, it's all about feeling like you're doing something of value. You feel like the effort you're putting in is appreciated. And
Mhm.
if you think about how that identity comes to life for leaders in today, think about the current existence of employees. I saw a stat yesterday that said 80% of professionals right now are doing work or are being asked to do work that they were not hired to do. Like,
Mhm.
think about, I'm sure many of you in your settings can think about the job you have today and think about the job script or the job rec that you applied for. I guarantee it doesn't look very similar, or it looks a hell of a lot different, especially over
Right.
the last couple months. And as a human, none of us wake up and say like, "Hey, how can I do a really bad job today? You know, it'd be really fun. What if I like stink at my job?" Like none of us want to do that. We all want to do good jobs. And then we go
Yep.
out there and we're like, "All right, how do I learn AI? How do I learn to make a better relationship? How can I do something that my boss will be like, "Oh my God, I love the way you thought about that differently." Like we are constantly trying to figure out where can I add value? Yes, from self-preservation and I want to keep my job, all that, but also like when I do a good job, I feel good, I'm more motivated, I'm more connected. And the only way to drive that is if you're working with people that you feel like appreciate you or value
Mm.
your work. And if you're working for someone who doesn't, you're going to slip into this spiral of, you know what, forget it. I'm going to go find something else. I'm going to look for something else. I'm going to recreate myself. However, if you're working for someone that does recognize you or appreciate you, the opposite happens. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to see this up and to the right. You're going to see teams that reinvent and reimagine the world and their roles, and you'll see people that have these new jobs that they didn't get hired for that figure out a way to do it and
Yeah.
thrive. And then you're going to see the opposite. So
Mhm.
my advice to leaders, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but like I mean, this is a moment where you can shine or you can't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I think about it.
No, and it's great. And it's a great point that you bring AI because I think that everybody's so concerned about AI and it's going to take up over my job and the future, right? And the safety that we have in our jobs. And we already have enough things to worry about. There's an environment that it's a little crazy right now from whatever place you see it. We have the addition, um, uncertainty or threat about, and threat in quotes of AI. And on top of that, we have all the other things that we need to deal with in our work. If we do things, if we don't do things, if people notice the things that we do, if they don't. Um, I was sharing, I think I shared with you earlier this week that I used to have a boss when I was in corporate who would never acknowledge or recognize anything that the team did. In her mind, it was like, that is what you're being paid for. This is what you were hired for. So I don't have to recognize you or I don't have to acknowledge if you're doing a good job. Of course, if things were not going well, she would be there, right? But and I have seen that sometimes working with some leaders, and they're like, well, I don't like recognition. Why would I give it to another person, right? So, have you encountered leaders like that that think that way? And what do we do with that?
Yeah,
What
I
do
mean,
you do with that?
yeah, I've seen it. I mean, it's such an interesting predicament, right? Because there's something to this whole like, look, I hired you to do a job, do the job, I'm going to pay you to do the job, like mantra, right? Like, look, we all know like our work is not our life, right? Like in a perfect world, we all want to be doing inspiring work that like motivates us, right? But
Mhm.
but more than anything, that's a luxury. At the end of the day, like we come to work, we hope we do a good job, we hope we're compensated for it, and we move on, right? Like hopefully you can leave work at work, that whole kind of concept, right? But if you think back to this whole like 80% stat that I referenced earlier about how a lot of us are in roles that like I don't know, we didn't sign up for, or we didn't really look
Mm,
into, or are changing rapidly. Um, it's it's so important that like you sort of like connect to the like you're telling me to do the job, but like the job isn't even the job, or it's transforming or it's changing, right? I mean, think about
mhm,
like, my kids will end up having a job that doesn't even exist right now, right? So like if they start preparing for like jobs that are in my work sphere, like how is that helpful? I don't want to get into
mhm.
this giant like conversation about like the role of universities and colleges and like,
Yeah, we that can be another
no, that's a
webinar.
sidebar. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, but the reality is like I want to be motivated to be iterative and be thinking about ways to be more productive and to be a problem solver more than a did I do this task, right?
Mm,
So when I think about leaders from that perspective, I would try to make sure that they're empowered to think about the the needs of individuals, um as opposed to like the what they like, right? Like your goal as a leader isn't to create a bunch of miniature versions of you. Your goal is to help people and inspire them to get the best from them. In many ways, ideally they would pass you, right? Like you create an environment where they become better. It's really hard to do that if um if you're looking at things from the lens you described.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if we think about recognition from the other side, right, from the employee side, what have you encountered in terms of when you get to coach people that say, like, you know what, I just don't feel valued, I just don't feel seen. Um, yeah, the company offers these things, and I got the reward for this other thing, but there's like not a lot of motivation. They don't feel seen, they don't feel. Um, how can we get people unstuck from there so they can start to appreciate a little bit more what is there? Because a lot of, I think one thing that has been very surprising for me sometimes is there's a lot of things that people do or try to companies try to do for their employees, but sometimes they just don't land. They people don't use them, right? So how can we use recognition and appreciation um, as a tool or as a vehicle for people to feel more inspired, particularly when they don't see any motivation in what is already there for them?
I it's a great question, and I think obviously there's our session is called coach. We're focused on coaching. I mean, in many ways, coaching and providing self-awareness and human connection
Mm,
is like your unlock here. And I want to double down on this like human side of things, right?
yep.
Like I've yet to find a person that has said, God, one day I hope I get to work for a robot. Like I haven't found them yet. And I'm optimistic and relatively sure that that's not happening anytime soon. So then let's unpack the why, right? Like why do I want to work for people? Why do when you've had a great manager, what made them a great manager? When you did not have a great manager, what didn't, right? And you'll find a lot of things like I wasn't motivated, I wasn't recognized, I didn't feel like I was coached, I didn't feel like I had autonomy, I was just
Mm,
told what to do, right? There's this litany
yeah.
of
Hmm.
things. When you think about it from this recognition lens, though, understanding and connecting to people personally is more important than ever, right? Like it's one thing for me to say like I understand my employees are motivated because if they do a good job, they can get a bonus, or they earn extra
Mm,
time off, or we have this great spiff, or contest going on, and they can earn this perk or whatever it is, right? Like everyone wants to get compensated for their work and wants to achieve whatever tier of
yeah.
compensation. Like, look, a comp plan is the greatest behavioral change psychology tool there is, right? You want to get someone to change their behavior, pay them to do something different.
Hmm.
However, that's a lovely short-term strategy, but it doesn't connect on the long term. And it always gets me, it makes me reflect back to one of my first jobs. So, somehow I've gotten a chance to work for two of like the more successful tech companies on the planet. Like Bravely is one of the more successful coaching tech
Mm.
companies. I get to work for LinkedIn, which is a very well recognized business. Um, but I know you wouldn't think of this, but my first job out of college, I sold copy machines. Oh boy, what a dream that was. If you ever want to feel rejection, go try to go business to business and try to sell copy machines to like banks and small
Mm,
businesses. It's a dream. But it was a great experience. And I'll never forget the relationship. I worked for one of the best bosses I ever had. And I was a couple weeks into my job and I sat down with my boss and she said to me, like, hey, like, what are your goals for the quarter? Like, let's talk through them. And I walked through what I thought she wanted to hear. You know, I want to hit this quarterly target. I'd love to hit this target. I see the top 10% is this way. And I know I can win this award if I'm here. So, like, my goal is to get X amount in the pipeline. And if I can close at the percentage I have the first quarter, I can achieve that. And she looked at me and she said, she's like, yeah, that's great and all, but like, what are you going to buy when you get that bonus check?
mm,
And I don't know. I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. Like, you know, I'm going to buy a bed. That was my response. I'm going to buy a queen size bed. Now, again, this is like 22-year-old Mark, like
all right.
graduated college 18 months ago. And I'm living in an apartment, sharing it with a friend. I still have my old like twin size mattress that my parents gave me that I took down to college and I brought it back. And like, I know you can't really tell by the video of me hanging out here outside, but I'm like 6'3", 245. Like I'm a big dude. Like I don't really fit well on the twin size bed, but I
Right.
made it work. So like, you know, I was pretty damn motivated by like, I want a bed that I fit on. I want to like,
Mhm.
this is where I want to go. So, so I think she laughed about it. And then, you know, the next week I came in to my office and I, you know, we're talking like 2002 here, so I'm aging myself. But like I used to sit in these office cubes where they had like little cork boards where you would put
Yep.
things up with a push pin.
Hmm.
And in my cube, there's 4 circulars from the newspaper with mattress sections from like big box stores, you know, Mattress Plus.
Right.
Like they're all over my wall. And I go into my one-on-one and she's like, "Oh, are we closer to buying a bed yet?" And I was like, "No, you know, whatever." So this became a running conversation for like I'd say like 6 months.
Mm.
I didn't hit my next quarter. I got real close. I finally hit the next quarter. She would constantly ask, you know, oh, how's that bed fitting? All that stuff. Bought my queen size bed. I sent her a picture. This is ill advised, by the way. I wouldn't recommend sending your manager a picture of you laying in a bed. Like it's not the right approach, but nevertheless, bought my bed, sent her a picture. Um, and it was interesting because she drove that motivation home because like look, we all know it wasn't about the freaking bed, right? Like, oh yeah, Mark's motivated by beds. Like, of course not. But
Right. Right.
Mark certainly was motivated by growing up and becoming an adult and
Mm.
making
Hmm.
his own life and
Hmm.
running away from, you know, the stuff that I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to have from my parents. I know I'm blessed to have an amazing upbringing, but like I wanted to grow up and our conversations continued down that path, right? It was, oh, like you
What
know,
is the
have you
next
thought
thing?
about buying a house yet? Or
Right.
how's your,
Hmm.
you know, how's your girlfriend? Like it was always about like relationships and me growing as a person because that's what I was motivated by. So when I thought like when she recognized things, it was always tied to that. It wasn't tied to Mark, don't forget you get that extra 10 grand if you hit that quarter. Like, of course that mattered to me, but did it? So my advice for all of you is like, how well do you know your people, or how well does your manager
Mm.
know you? And how much do you want to be willing to connect to that? Because I don't know, to be honest with you, without that connection, you run the risk of a lot of inauthentic, you know, I heard a little bit of the last chat, right? Like the KitchenAid mixer. Like, come on. Like I'm not, don't send Mark a KitchenAid
Right.
mixer. That doesn't
Right.
motivate me at all. So anyways,
Yep. Yeah.
Yanni, that's
Well,
kind of where my thought goes.
no, and it's a great segue to talking about, well, what you just said, right? Like knowing you're connecting with people you're working with, understanding their motivations and what they want in their lives, etc. And I'm gonna jump into the conversation about the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace because I think that I mean, it just fits perfectly into this, right? So, um, I must admit that I am very familiar with the book, The 5 Languages of Love. And recently I learned that there is that concept and that framework into the workplace and particularly about appreciation, right? So there's the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. So, and it just fits perfectly in what you're saying, right? Like what are the languages of the people you are working with and how do they receive appreciation and recognition. So why don't we talk a little bit about what are the 5 different languages, and are you familiar with this work? You are, right?
Yeah, very familiar, very
Yeah.
familiar. So it's interesting. I'll for those of you who aren't familiar with the framework, I'll give you a quick bullet point review, and then I'll sort of share you like both sides of the coin, right? So like, look, when you're thinking about recognizing or the 5 languages of love, right? There's words of affirmation, right? Like you always want to be sincere, you always want to be able to praise someone so that they feel recognized, if you will, not to overuse the word recognition. There's like the quality of time, right? Like if you and I are going to spend time, am I going to be like
Mm.
double screening it? Am I going to be half paying attention? Am I zoned out? Am I like, oh, Yenny, what was that last question? Can you repeat that? Like there's acts of service, right? So like, what can I do to help? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that that's not a blind or a blank. What can I do to help? But like, can I take something off your plate? Can I give you a
Yeah,
different point of
taking
view?
obstacles out, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever it might
Mm-hmm.
be. There's the
Mm-hmm.
tangible gift side of things, right? The KitchenAid mixer, if you will. Like there's the reward me with something. And then there's the less friendly business one, but like a good hug or a high five or a fist bump, the physical touch component. I'm a big hugger. I know that's not the most corporate thing. But like again, you sort of kind of figure out
Yeah.
what works, probably more of a family language of love than it is a work language of love. Um, it's interesting. So I'm going to share like a slightly contrarian component to this, and then we can talk. Like I think the basic 5 is relatively it's easy to figure out. Like
Yeah.
where do I want to plug in? I can tell you though, I always think about the negative consequence about doing the opposite. So
Mm.
like yes, there's the make sure you're authentic and you connect with people on a human level. And then I think about the risk of not,
Mm.
right? So I do a lot of sales performance coaching and I try to enable a lot of sales leaders on how to compassionately lead sales professionals, which is like a fascinatingly challenging muscle to work, right? Because
Mm.
if someone's struggling, like the compassionate thing is to like get them to a place that they would be better, which sometimes leads to a removal of employment or a shift
Right.
somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard, even though it's the right thing to do. So the negative to that, though, is if you don't do it well, right? So, like, if I identify Yenny is on my team and I identify that she is struggling, but like, I think the nice thing to do is to like not address it or address it like very lightly, or
Mm.
maybe like allow her to make an excuse or I make excuses for her. And I don't like the whole clear as kind concept. I don't share with her like, look, you're not
This.
behaving
Mm-hmm.
in the way that's necessary to perform at the level we expect. If I'm not like really honest on that, the rest of my team as a leader will
Mm-hmm.
see that
Yep.
and the impact and it comes off as inauthentic, right? So like if I go to a high performer and I'm like pushing them stronger, hey, like that's good, but I can get more out of you. But they think I'm letting Yenny off the hook, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's the low performer and she's not being treated the same way I am. And just because I'm performing really well, like why am I being asked to get more, but we're not asking her to get more?
Yep.
Or I know I've had conversation with her. I know Mark is like leaving her alone or whatever it might be. Like if there's not a authenticity to it, right? If there's not a everyone's being treated fairly, the negative impact of it can be like the unforeseen domino that falls.
Yeah.
So like the reason I share that is like the simple way is to say, look, let me get to know Yenny better so that I can figure out how to motivate her. The place that I see a lot of leaders fall down is the um like what unintended cues or demotivation am I providing Yenny by
Mm.
the way I'm treating others
Yep.
that are not seen? So I feel like I've sort of explained it in not the clearest way, but like I think for leaders, it's really critical that you look at both sides because you have a team and not an individual. And we can talk about the best ways to be authentic, but I think the undercard can be like I don't know, the one that like nips managers in the butt a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, from what you're saying, there are a few things to that, right? One is if you know your people, also part of knowing the people that you work with, right? Or the work in your team is understanding if their skills and their capability are the right ones for the job that they're doing. And a lot of times, and probably you have faced this, that you're coaching people that are they just don't have the skills that are appropriate for that role that they have. So I think that what I'm hearing, what you're saying is, one, knowing your people includes that, right? Like what they're good for, what they're like, what are their skills, what are areas of opportunities, if some of those skills can be acquired, and if the person is interested in acquiring, and what are the motivations to that. But the other thing that I'm also hearing what you're saying is that we cannot take it as a recipe, right? Like, oh, so five languages of appreciation. Let me see which one fits better, and I'm gonna do that, right? And I think that that is where the authenticity that you're referring comes up to, right? Like you really need to understand and not just following this, and also having that contextual awareness of like, you know what? I need to be aware of everything else that is happening around me and my team. So
1000%.
yeah. So the 5 languages, great to know them, great to have as a tool, but not the only tool to use as you are leading, as you are recognizing your people. Um, let's talk a little bit about what is. I mean, there's a book called The Carrot Principle that talks about the importance of, instead of being like the carrot and the stick and have that motivation for people, it's more about using recognition as the real business strategy on how to make people more understanding people how they are, and make this recognition really a business strategy, right? On how to be more productive, etc. And one of the things that the carrot principle talks about is having kind of four. I'm going to use like a compass type of, or touch points that we need to make sure that when we are recognizing people, we are talking about. So for the recognition to be efficient or effective, it needs to be frequent. It needs to be values based, right? Like what are the values that we have as a corporation, but also as an individual, right? Going back to what you were talking about earlier, that the compensation or the recognition is appropriate to the effort put into, or the result that was put into it, and that it's personalized. We already covered the personalized part, but what can we say about frequent recognition, values-based recognition, and that it's appropriate to the job that it's being, or the accomplishment that it's being recognized?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's a great framework, right? So like, I always think carrot stick is like what happens if I don't do something correct, right? I mean, from a stick
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. And I think, look, I mean, we all know fear is a great short-term motivator, but it runs dry pretty quick. So, a carrot approach is typically your best one, or it's certainly like something that will motivate people to want to chase down something on their own. Um, for me, when I think about it from a scaled lens, um, I think it's important to understand that there's buckets of people that will be motivated by chasing down recognition. And then again, there are people that won't, right? There are people that do want to just come in, do a good job, complete their tasks, go home and rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yep.
when you think about the carrot methodology, we're really talking about that first bucket, the people that do get motivated, want to do the extra thing, want to achieve X. So to me, like the best examples are like ones that fit into the frequent and the value-based buckets, value-based buckets. So when I think about frequency in sales orgs, like every year there should be top 20% annual achievement trips or recognition or rewards or a
Mm.
comp tied thing, right? And the reason it's important that one, it's frequent, um, and by frequent I mean like reoccurs quarterly or biannual.
Recurrent. Mm-hmm.
So the reason that's important is because it presents itself as a fair reward. Like there are a few things worse than finding out that there's like some incentive that is being launched and it's actually retroactively pulling the last 6 weeks of results. And all of a sudden, like there's a lot of people that can feel that to be unfair, right? Like,
Mm.
oh my God, if I would have known about this, I might have tried to position things differently. I might have worked harder versus having something frequent. You create this is the behavior, this is the standard. I
Mhm.
know that if I deliver at this behavior and standard, I will be rewarded, right?
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that there's a connection that's always on. The value-based one, I, look, I think every organization has very specific values that tie to the behaviors they expect of their employees. Um, if you want that to become a culture that is lived within as a company, like you want to make sure that you are rewarding not only the what is achieved, but the how things are achieved.
Mm,
So like
mhm.
at LinkedIn, we do a lot of recognition on the here's who moved the needle, not necessarily here's who delivered the result.
Mm,
Yes, the result ultimately hits the pay bar, but you get a lot of celebration for the here's the person that thought outside the box. Here's the person that we're going to celebrate the person that didn't achieve but inspired others to achieve. Like we
yeah,
constantly are searching out the how you accomplished something and what you learned from it and how you would do it different recognition, and not just the here's the top 10% again
mm,
type of thing. So
yeah,
um I think it's just really really important that you're thoughtful about it, and that you try to take a lens from like the hey look, there's going to be some component or part of the org that's going to be like, ugh, I don't feel like that's achievable, I don't think that's me, I don't think that's fair. Like let's play that out. Why would someone
mm,
say that, and how do we make sure that they don't say that? So that's kind of
yeah,
how I think about it.
yeah. Yeah, and as you were talking, I mean, there are things that are so easy to recognize because they're very tangible, right? Like you hit that mark, you have that sale, but as you're saying, there are things that actually move the needle, but they are not that visible, or they might not have that direct impact immediately. And then by missing the point on recognizing those kind of things, well, maybe I'm not going to be that interested in doing that next time, right? Like putting that much effort. Because one of the things that have been demonstrated, right, is that through different research, is that people really want to do things that matter, right? They want their job to be valuable, even if it's a 5 to 9, like a 9 to 5 job. I mean, at least that what I'm doing has a positive, it's valuable, it's like makes an impact in some way, right? And sometimes that impact is just that compounding effect that you don't see it after a while. And how can we like take advantage, or how can we make sure that people that are doing those little contributions at the time that end up compounding to a bigger um, result also have that recognition, also are seen, also are valued, and not just the people who hits the sales goal every single time. What do you think about that? About recognizing small wins?
It's such a so it's critical. Like it's constantly critical. it's it also ties me, and I'm going to circle back to authenticity one last time. um you want to make sure that it doesn't come off as fake, right? So like progress over perfection, how do we constantly recognize and celebrate people that are thinking about doing things the right way, knowing that if they repeat those behaviors, success comes. So
Mm,
uh I have a wonderful 12 going on 17-year-old daughter who's playing softball right now. She's lovely. And she's currently going through a bit of a hitting slump. But she's doing her best. She's trying really hard. She's doing the right things. And I'm sure you've probably already noticed in 45 minutes. Like I'll tell it how it is. And when I'm the softball dad sitting with the families, like I'm also like, I don't know, I'm pretty firm about like the ooh, that wasn't very good. Like
mm,
I call it as I see it. So and I think I've established a very clear brand as the critical judgmental softball father who is supportive of the team. And this happened like 2 weeks ago where like one of our worst players, she's been like she's not great, let's just say. She had a really big hit, and she had like a really great approach the whole game, fouled a couple off. Like it was a very like she had not gotten a hit in like a month. So like this is a big moment. I went over to her mom afterwards and I said, "Lo, I'm really proud of how well she's come along. Like this is like one of the best
mm,
games she ever said." And the woman said to me, Mark, you have no idea how much that means coming from you. And like, it's a lovely comment. It lets me know what my brand is as the judgmental coach father. But
Yeah.
like, but by recognizing that, it's meaningful to that parent,
Mm,
right? And and I think there's oh shit, like he meant that. So I guard the authenticity bucket because if you become the like, I'm just going to celebrate every small win,
mm,
like you run the risk of becoming like the joke of like, ooh, I wonder what Mark's going to try to recognize today because he's in recognition mode. Like it has
yeah.
to be real and meaningful, otherwise it becomes noise. So uh like just be sensitive to that. People need to be recognized for progress and effort. Um, but if you recognize everything, then recognition means nothing.
Mm,
So
mm.
um the small win bucket, I've seen people fall apart if they do it too much.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the great thing, I think, part of this conversation to have with leaders, right? About reflecting about their own. So for their brand when it comes to recognition, to be authentic, it requires some intentionality in terms of defining what is true for you. What is like, so it's not just like, oh, I'm going to just recognize using the five languages, right? Or, but it's really as a leader to take a moment to reflect, to think, how do I, what do I want my brand to be when it is about recognition? And I think that it goes with what you're saying, right? Like maybe you're the tough one overall, but your recognition comes a long way because you normally do that. Or do you want to be someone who is more, I'm going to use the term soft for the lack of a better expression, but then how are you going to express that? Why do you want to be soft or tough? I think that is a good point of reflection for leaders so they can be authentic and also fair, right?
I love that point you sparked something that I was going to say earlier and I totally forgot.
Yeah.
So like it's such a great frame, Yenny. So advice that I typically give new leaders is it is always easier to start firm and loosen the reins than it is to come in on a loose level and try to tighten when things start to go the other
Mm,
way. And I think it ties to recognition because if you set clear standards and clear guidelines and guardrails and expectations for what great looks like, and you're very clear and you uphold those, when you recognize effort, people are like, "Oh my God, I'm so like I know that I'm struggling here, but I can't believe Mark recognized my effort. That means a lot to me."
mm,
If it goes the other way, it comes off as inauthentic. And I keep
mm.
using authenticity. I feel like maybe that's just like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
theme for today. But uh like few things are worse than when you're like given a high five or an attaboy or a recognition and you're just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Yanni gave that sort of recognition to everybody. So like it
Mm,
means nothing to me. Like
mm,
it's such a tricky spiral. But the best managers, like when you get a little high five, like you are on cloud nine and ready to run through a wall for the
mm,
next month. Like, oh my God, I know I've been working my butt off. I know I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. And Yenny actually noticed that. Like, oh, I didn't know if she noticed it, but like now I
mm,
feel great because she did. So
mm.
but the setup for that, the build for that is so critical because if it doesn't
Yeah.
come off the right way, then it's a nothing. It's a, you as a manager, Yenny thought she did a great job at recognizing it. And I bet you Mark feels great. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 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 So if we start to wrap up, because we need to wrap up, and I
Yeah.
love this conversation. Thank you for your time. I hope that everybody else is enjoying this conversation as much as I am. So if we start to wrap up, um, so we have spoken about several things, and Rebecca, I don't know if we have some links for to add in the chat that I can add them here in a moment. But I would also like to open if you any of you have any questions, if you can use the Q&A section, and we're gonna try to answer as many as we can based on the time. But as we start to wrap up this part of the conversation, what would you say are the, like, just what can people take away from this conversation? What would you say are the three things for people to keep in mind as they are thinking about leadership, recognition, appreciation, and authenticity, which obviously is the theme overall? Anything else that you think we should touch on?
No, I think you nailed it, right? I just would over index on the human plus or the human first thing. Like, um, I feel like I'm just living in AI swirl and world, and I'm really excited for how it's going to help me be better and more efficient and do things in less time. I also know that I wake up and enjoy my job because I enjoy my boss, I enjoy the people I work with, and I enjoy the
Mhm.
really gnarly, challenging problems that I'm trying to help leaders solve. Not because I get to use ChatGPT and Copilot today. So like, and those are wonderful tools and I love them. And there's many other
Yeah.
AI tools that I could reference, but like, I would just constantly over index on the human plus, human first. Like I would try to live in that world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely something important. So we have a question, and is we have a lot of young leaders who are looking for guidance on leading. What is some advice? Get them a coach. That'll be my first advice. Get them a coach.
Um,
Anything you can add, Mark, to that?
give me a little more frame on it, on leading in general, like creating followership, like what sort of lens?
Yeah,
Um,
Ashton, if you can elaborate a little bit more on the question.
it, in lieu of elaboration, like, sure, get him a coach, helpful. I think in many ways, I think it depends what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to create followership, like and become like your classic leader, I think you want to spend some time trying to figure out the motivations of your team and what actually inspires them to think creatively and try to solve problems. Like it's got to be less about you delegating tasks and more of a bottoms up, like what's inspiring to you, and then you sort of leading the way to create that followership. Um, I think the get a coach thing, like my lens on that real quick is typically speaking, leadership can be identified as a very lonely activity. Like you're being looked to by your employees to have the answers or to be the person to solve the problem. And the reality is, again, your goal is to hire people that frankly will be fundamentally better than you in the roles you hire them for.
Mm,
If you nail that, if you hire the right talent, you will have people that are better than you. So if your job is like tell them what to do or direct them, like if that's the role, then you did it wrong. Um, and and frankly, it becomes extraordinarily lonely. So if you're struggling with that component to it, sure, get a coach, find a friend, so find a mirror, like and do some self-reflection because I mean that's what coaches are there for to help you sort of unlock that component.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, Ashton added to the question. They're wanting to figure out how to become a manager to older folks and find some more respect and the niche.
We don't have enough time. Look,
Get
I
a
think
coach.
it's that to me becomes more about the setting up the relationship you want with the person,
Hmm.
right? Like, so again, let's run for like 2 more minutes on this analogy, right? Where I see a ton of senior leaders struggle is they have people on their team that are actually better than them and they feel like they're not delivering the value to them, right? So like your human brain for the most part as a leader defaults to how can I help you? Like, and I would tell you, the quicker you can get over the your obsession with helping others, your job as leader is not to help. Your job as leader is to position or put the chess pieces in the right place
Hmm.
or open doors or remove obstacles or create runways for your people to outrun. So, like when you move from like the IC to manager role, like you've got all this professional um like equity built up where like you could be like, oh, this is how I would do this. This is how I would do this. When you're managing people that are more senior than you or are really successful, that equity is gone. Like you don't have that. Like they're not looking to you for that. Frankly, they're better than you. So then the question is, where can I plug in to help you run faster than I could ever run in your position?
Mm,
And so to me, it's like, how do I set up this is your role, this is my role. Your role is not come to Mark for the answers because I don't have them. And to be honest with you, the quicker we get that relationship aligned where that's not what you're coming to me for, then I can help you unlock. Um,
mm,
that sounds really easy in my little 3 minute, like Mark talked about it. Sounds wonderful. Hard as hell to do,
mm.
but the best senior leaders do. Like that's what differentiates a great senior leader from a good senior leader.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I think, Rebecca, you have some, I want to make sure that we don't go over time.
Yes. Let's wrap up, and if there's a few moments, maybe we can take a few more questions. And I know folks are probably still thinking, so
Sure.
I'll just share my screen. And of course, I just want to say to Mark and Yenny, thank you so much for this wonderful session. In the comments, people were saying all the nicest things, how much they appreciate the things you're saying, how all the honesty is just so important when it comes to coaching. So I'd love to give you a few more moments to also talk about Bravely in case it's something that folks are interested in looking into.
Yeah, and this is not intended to be a big commercial, so I'm just going to, if you don't know what Bravely is, it's a coaching and training platform that provides employees with personalized professional development, fueling fueling higher levels of engagement and performance. And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, we have, and you can see with Mark's experience as well, we have several hundreds of coaches with different backgrounds, different personalities, different identities that intended to match the personality or the identity of the people who are looking for coaching. And we have training programs. So more than happy to talk more about that offline if anyone is interested, but that's give you an idea of what Bravely is. And I hope that you can get a lot of value out of it.
Thank you. And I'll just share a little bit about a bucket list as well. So, let me grab my slide. I have so many tabs open. Here we are. Yes, so Bucket List, we are a rewards and recognition platform designed to help organizations build programs that are easy to use, well loved, and proven to deliver results. And so, if you're curious about recognition programs, I'd love for Bucket List to be on your radar as a fun thing for this conference. If you hop on a quick intro call with us, I'll send you some conference swag. So you can feel free to hit yes on this poll or just scan this QR code to get your meeting booked. And I have the professional development credits here. We have the HRCI, the SHRM, and the CPD for all of you who are doing the recertification for those items. So I'll leave this up as we go into Q&A. We have 3 minutes, Yanni, and Crystal just came in with another question. So I think we can put this one in here before we wrap up for today.
Sure. So Crystal asks, can you help me understand what you meant by getting rid of the idea of helping others if you want to be a good leader? For some reason, that doesn't sit well with me, and I would like to know a little bit more about this.
Yeah, happy to. So, um, your job is not to help as a leader. Your job is to empower and present roadmaps for individual success, right? So, as a leader, my job, if Yenny is my employee, I want to position her, make sure that she has the right skills and behaviors that she can be successful. If I leave the company today or tomorrow, Yenny is still going to operate at a very high level and be able to be successful in her job, right? The measure of a great leader in many times is the success of their team in a leader's absence. Like if I go on vacation and my team doesn't know how to operate, like then all I did was help and like, oh my God, I've created a bottleneck of inabilities. So what I mean by help is like when an employee comes into me, they can't be paralyzed if I'm not there to tell them what to do. I need to have inspired and given them the skills to be good in their role. Like, does that make sense? Like the easy thing is, Yenny, thanks for this problem. Go do this. Like that's great and all, but God forbid Yenny ever works for somebody else. Wow, Mark, I heard Yenny was great. No, well, she was only great because she worked for Mark, because Mark solved all the problems. Like
Mm.
then as a leader, I failed miserably. Does that make sense? I'm gonna guess yes. If it doesn't, happy to jam more. That's what I meant by help, though.
Yeah, and I mean, if we think about the role is more about empowerment, right, of people. I mean, sometimes the leader is the one who is going to have more trust on the person than the person itself. Sometimes, and giving some stretch goals and giving them like, I know you can accomplish this. Sometimes even the person doesn't even think that they can accomplish it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And Crystal, to your point, like by enabling, you're theoretically helping.
Mm.
I think the term help to me is like you come to me and I tell you what to do, right? Like help as in
Mhm.
like, if I see my son uh having a hard time riding his bike, like do I help him by like running alongside and making sure he doesn't fall, or do I help him by giving him a strategy so that he can do it better on his own next time, right? So like that's the way I'm using the phrase help. Good question though.
Mm.
Amazing.
And just to finish, I am going to add, there's some resource that we touched on during the conversation, which was the Five Language of Appreciation, the Carrot Principle, that are two books. But also Harvard Business Review has good articles on recognition and appreciation, as well as the power of small wins. So those are additional resources that you can also tap into.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for such an awesome presentation. Such a great way to end day one. And in the spirit of recognition, I want to give each of you recognition. I have these fun cards from Sarah, who's was our keynote today. So first recognition for Yenny. You have a soothingly calm and patient presence, which makes you an awesome coach.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
I have this one for Mark. You excel at helping others to develop and to grow.
Look at that. There's that word help. Love it.
Thank you both so much. And thank you, audience, for tuning in and participating in the discussion, asking such thoughtful questions. I know I enjoyed the conversations today, and I hope all of you did as well.